right, you guys, let's talk about the situation that I've got myself in yet again. It's all of the arcs that I need to get read because I just can't stay off NetGalley. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, like you saw in the intro, we're gonna go over all the arcs that I need to get read because I was dwindling them down, then I got a whole bunch more, and now I'm in another predicament like I was a couple months ago, and I'm just not getting to my TBR, which is sad. Look at all of these beautiful books that I could be reading, and yet I am browsing NetGalley, just requesting left and right, because you never know which books you're actually going to get and which books you aren't. So then you end up like putting in for 10 of them and you get approved for all 10 of them. I just need to stay off NetGalley. I've already deduced that clue here, but I definitely need your help. You need to keep on me. Like, hey girl, quit getting arcs. You need to read your physical TBR like you're set out to do. But definitely, before I get into all those books, just always remember to like and subscribe. Check my description box below for all of my links for my socials, Pango Books account, Patreon, and also my Bookish Box ambassador link. But definitely my Patreon, because as we talked yesterday in my sprints that I did with you guys here on YouTube, we decided that for Patreon, we are going to be doing a live gameplay of Stardew Valley, and I think it's going to be on Monday night. And anybody that is on my Patreon who has an Xbox, we're going to set up a multiplayer where we're all going to be playing together, but I'm going to stream it on there so all my Patreon members can watch and talk while we're in doing the game to give feedback on what we should be doing and this, that, and the other thing. So if you want to join us for that, that will be coming in the next week or two. Join my Patreon down below if you want to come join us. Alright, so let's talk about these. I'm going to go through all of the physical, which are the e-books that I need to get to, and then I need to then go back and talk to you about the few audio arcs that I have that I need to get through as well. The book that is coming out on September 6th is called Bleeding Rose by Kyla Shinder. I don't even remember what this is about, so I have my phone pulled up so we can go over the synopsis on this. I'm going to read it to you and then we'll just move on to the next one. But I requested so many arcs that they kind of just all mesh together. When Noella Rose signed the contract to become Delmarth Academy's first official school counselor, she thought she was agreeing to work at a boarding school in upstate New York. Unbeknownst to her, the moment her pen left that page, she magically bound herself to a school in a completely different dimension in the kingdom of Caval. Now trapped in Caval until the school year comes to a close, Ella is forced to work alongside beings of immense power called primordials, who view emotions as pesky hindrances and have been taught to despise humans from what they call the earthly plane. Ella's co-workers are determined to send her back to her own land, believing her presence in their world will be a dangerous influence on the students of Delmarth, particularly Kellen Killick, the Varmin department head who's made it his personal vendetta to make her life a living hell. Ella must find a way to do her job, being an advocate for the school's mental well-being, and survive the school year, hoping to prove to these formidable beings that the most powerful magic of all can be the embracement of feeling. Kellen Killick has spent the past 12 years fighting a system designed to fail him in order to protect his two younger siblings. He gave up everything for his future to take care of the twins, and against all odds, finally gained custody of them. The arrival of the human Noella Rose at Delmarth Academy threatens all the hard work Kellen has done to protect the twins from their mother. He hates Noella with every fiber of his being, yet finds himself inevitably drawn to her as his siblings begin seeing her for counseling. Noella makes him question what he was taught to view strength as, finding power and beauty in the way she teaches both the students and him to not fear their emotions. Kellen finds himself in a battle between his head and his heart, between what he believes he needs to do to protect the twins and what he wants for himself, which slowly over time becomes the human he's supposed to despise. I think that was a very long synopsis. I don't think it needed to be that long. Nonetheless, it's kind of like a dark academia setting because she's kind of going into like this pit of primordials and she's a human. And then Kellen, who is supposed to hate her, like an enemies to lovers situation. I'm kind of all here for it. It kind of gives me a little bit of possible dark gothy vibes in a way because she's on like a different plane of existence and everything. So now I understand why I requested it. But that comes out September 6th if you're interested. Then releasing on September 10th is Dirty Lying Wolves by Sabrina Blackberry, which at the time of filming this, I am only almost halfway through that arc. I'm not going to go over the synopsis on that because I've already been talking about it in my weekend vlog. Also, I had talked about it a couple weeks ago whenever I put it on my TBR. So if you would like to, just go watch those videos. But that is coming out very soon also. The next one that's coming out on September 12th is Oath of Betrayal by Olena Nikitin. And again, I don't remember what this is about, but it's coming out very soon. I need to get to it. She was broken, but even a shattered blade can kill. Tormented by grief and powerless after the loss of the men who anchored her magic, Anika fakes her death, seeking refuge in a secluded town. For years, she hides her identity until a chance encounter with a dragon exposes her unique power to the Lord Commander of the Dragon Riders. Even though she escapes, a yearning for a soul-deep connection with the magnificent beast haunts her dreams. When the commander tracks her down, his touch rekindles her crippled magic, making her question all she knows. He claims she is his ultimate weapon and plans to bond her to his dark fae necromancer, but Anika is done being controlled. When vampiric ghosts attack, she takes fate into her own hands, choosing to bind herself to the dragon. Hunted by the Lich King and torn between the commander who ignites her magic and the necromancer who tames its roaring inferno, Anika forges herself into the weapon she was destined to be. However, the dragon's anchor is not enough when impending war and betrayal sets her world ablaze. Even if she sacrifices her soul to take another, can one conduit mage save a failing kingdom? It says this is a fantasy with adult characters for readers seeking a unique blend of epic fantasy and why choose romance. I love why choose. If you like an intricate plot with detailed world building infused with Slavic mythology and dusted with the slow burn spice of unconventional pairings, this is the book for you. I'm all in. Thank you. This series contains adult male-female content, and further in the series you will find male-female-male and male-male pairings, as well as coarse language and injury detail, suitable for readers over 18. This book sounds good. You got dragons, necromancers, a Lich King. What is happening? I'm all for that. So that comes out on September 12th. Alright, and then coming out on September 26th, we have The White Wolf's Wrath. That is a tongue twister, by Shay Holse. I might be saying that wrong. Step into a world where betrayal cuts deeper than a knife and vengeance burns hotter than wildfire. My life took a sharp turn when the White Wolf unleashed his fury upon my family's once glorious estate, shattering everything I held dear. But from the rubble, I emerged with a fierce determination disguised as a humble servant in the wolf's inner circle. I tread carefully, balancing on the edge of survival and discovery. In my quest for payback, I unearth truths that rock my world. The man I swore to hate reveals surprising depths, stirring emotions I never thought possible. Caught between seeking revenge and a budding attraction, I'm trapped in a whirlwind of conflicting feelings. With the help of the mysterious Amerigan, I navigate the dangerous territory of enemies and secrets. War looms on the horizon, and betrayal lurks in every shadow. I must summon all of my courage to follow my heart's uncertain path in this turbulent journey of love and revenge. The White Wolf's Wrath is the first book in the scorching hot Dragon, Fire, and Druids romantasy series. We have druids and we have dragons. I'm all here for it. Next we have Wished by Sarah Reddy, which comes out on October 1st. And it looks like it is in a standalone connected series because it is book number 4. Anna is a romantic who believes in the one and love at first sight. Why? Because it happened to her. The second she saw Max Barone, she fell desperately, hopelessly in love. It didn't matter that they were from completely different worlds. He owned a jewelry empire. She cleaned houses. Love had no barriers, except one. Max didn't know Anna's name, much less that she even existed. Then one day Anna made a wish. Suddenly she was in an upside down world where everyone believed she and Max had been happily married for years. It was passion, it was romance, it was love. It was everything she'd ever wished for. Wasn't it? That sounds amazing. Like where she fell hard for this guy who doesn't even know her, and then something happens and now she's in this alternate reality where she's been married to him for years. And is it everything that she thought it would be? I'm ready. I'm ready for that book. Also coming out on October 1st is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. This one I can't talk about because it is a continuation from the first book, which is better than the movies. So you need to read that book before you read this one. So I'm not really going to go over the synopsis on it, but I'm going to tell you what, this cover looks amazing, and I can't wait to sink my eyeballs into it and read. Coming out on October 10th is called Mortal Memories by F.A. Eden. This one sounds really good. A mortal woman missing her memory, a fey lord held captive by his. When Kara is discovered by the Fey Quarter alone, a transgression punishable by death, she's given a choice: marry her savior or run for her life. Missing all memories from before that night, she agrees to the marriage and turns her focus toward rediscovering who she is and why she was in the Quarter in the first place. When his fiancée died 50 years ago, Strayed withdrew from society. But after impulsively marrying a mortal woman to save her life, there are some things he cannot ignore: his feelings for his new wife, the growing list of people going missing in the Quarter, and the possibility that the disappearances may be connected to the woman he loves. Mortal Memories is a slow burn, spicy fae romance perfect for fans of K.F. Breen and Sarah J. Maas. I mean, of course Sarah J. Maas, but K.F. Breen is the queen of spicy fae, spicy fantasy romance, and I'm all here for that. Alright, and then coming out on October 15th, we have If I Stopped Haunting You by Colby Wilkins. This one sounds very unique. An enemies to lovers romance with a spooky twist where two feuding writers end up on a writer's retreat together at a haunted castle in Scotland. It's been months since horror author Penelope Skinner threw a book at Neil Storm, but he was so infuriating with his sparkling green eyes and his best-selling horror novels that claim to break native stereotypes, and now she's a publishing pariah and hasn't been able to write a good word since. So when her friend invites her on a too good to be true writer's retreat in a supposedly haunted Scottish castle, she seizes the opportunity. Of course, some things really are too good to be true. Neil wants nothing less to be trapped in a castle with the frustratingly adorable woman who threw a book at him. She drew blood. Worse still, she unleashed a serious case of self-doubt. Neil is terrified to write another best-selling book without a soul, as Penn called it. All Neil wants is to find inspiration while completely avoiding her. But as the retreat begins, Penn and Neil are stunned to find themselves trapped in a real-life ghost story. Even more horrifying, they're stuck together, and a truly shocking, extremely hot, almost kiss has left them rethinking their feelings, and maybe they shouldn't have been enemies at all. But if they can't stop the ghost pursuing them, they may never have the chance to find out. Full of spooky chills and even more sexy thrills, If I Stopped Haunting You by Colby Wilkins is the funny, fast-paced romp romance readers have been waiting for. This has spooky vibes. This has rom-com vibes. This has all the tropes that I would want during spooky season. So I'm hoping that I get this read maybe mid to end September. So then I just am in that atmosphere, right? Like the atmosphere has to be set. And then releasing on November 12th, we have The Co-op by Tara DeWitt. Now, I have read 2 books by her. One of them was Funny Feelings, which I didn't necessarily like. The other one was Savor It, which came out in May. And I was kind of on the fence. It was like a 3-star for me. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I'm going to give her another chance to draw me in. This looks stunning, the cover itself. The synopsis does sound rather interesting, and I'm hoping that this might be one of them that really makes me fall in love with this author. They say love and construction don't mix. By that logic, hate and construction may as well be condemned. Loren Levine and Deacon Leeds had one short and contentious summer fling when they were teens. Certainly nothing to build a foundation on. But decades later, when their grandmothers have left them with shared ownership of their dilapidated Santa Cruz building, they're thrust back together and have to figure out how to brace up the pieces. Loren has the money, but to access her trust, she has to be married. Deacon has the construction expertise, but lacks the funds. A deal is struck. Marry for however long it takes to fix up the property, collect a profit, and cut ties. Thrust into a home without walls, they quickly learn that it's easy to hide behind emotional ones, even in a marriage. But with all the exposure and pitfalls that come with living with the opposite sex, and none of the perks, they'll also have to learn what it means to truly cooperate as a team. The Co-op is a steamy story about restoration and renovation, and uncovering all the things that build character within ourselves. It's about the never-ending construction project that partnership is and finding enjoyment at every stage. This one really sounds good. It sounds like it's going to have more of a foundation of a relationship and kind of how you build on that while building a home together. And I'm really excited because Savor It, I felt like left me wanting more from a relationship, wanting more from what he did as a chef. So I'm hoping this one really kind of comes together a lot better. And then releasing on November 19th, we have The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. It says that it is for fans of Raven Kennedy and Thea Guanzin. It is a thrilling romantasy debut with high-stakes political intrigue and a steamy, slow-burn enemies-to-lover romance. All her life, Vasa Kozar has been sharpened into a blade. After losing her mother, her only remaining parent to a mysterious dark magic that has since awakened within her, Vasa is certain death looms. So is her merciless brother, who aims to eliminate Vasa as a threat to his crown. In one last political scheme, he marries her off to Reed of Moray, a ruthless foreign ruler, in hopes that he can use her death as a rallying cry to finally invade Reed's nation. All Vasa has to do is die. But she is desperate to live. Vasa enters her new marriage with every intent to escape it, wielding the hard-won political prowess and combat abilities her late father instilled in her. But to her surprise, Reed offers her a deal. Help him win the votes to rise in power, and she can walk free. In exchange, he will share his knowledge about the dark magic running through her veins and help keep it at bay. This proposal may be too good to refuse, yet Vasa and Reed's undeniable attraction threatens to break the rules of their arrangement. As her brother's lethal machinations take form, everything is at stake. Vasa must learn to trust her new husband, but how can she, especially when their perfect political marriage begins to feel like the real thing? So I'm excited for this. I mean, I do like an arranged marriage or forced marriage trope. I do like that. This sounds very interesting. The next one that is coming out is Blood of the Gods by Sapper A. Englard, which I cannot talk about because it is book 2 in the Cloak of a Vampire series, which I did talk about that because I had the arc a couple months ago, so you can go back and watch my reading wrap up, I think in June possibly, and see my thoughts on that. But I am desperate to get to this one, and it comes out on November 19th, so not too long around the corner. I want to get this read maybe in like October, like right before it's supposed to release. The next one is Not in My Book by Katie Holt, which comes out on December 10th. This one is kind of giving me rom-com vibes. It says that it is The Hating Game meets Beach Read in this sexy and hilarious contemporary romance from a debut Peruvian Tennessean voice. Probably saying that wrong. Rosie, an idealistic and passionate Peruvian American who has grown up without strong ties to her culture, leaves her Tennessee hometown to pursue her dream of making it in New York as a writer. But her plan is derailed when she ends up in class with her arch nemesis and ex-crush, Aiden Huntington, an obnoxious, surly, and gorgeous literary fiction writer who doesn't have much patience for the romance genre or for Rosie. Rosie and Aiden regularly go to verbal battle in workshop until their professor reaches her breaking point. She allows them to stay in her class on one condition: they must co-write a novel that blends their genres. The reluctant writing duo can't help but put pieces of themselves into their accidentally steamy novel. And as they slowly get to know each other, they try to put their differences aside. Meanwhile, their manuscript in progress provides an outlet for them to confess their feelings and explore their attraction to each other. When Rosie and Aiden find themselves competing against each other for a potentially career-changing opportunity, the flames of old rivalry reignite, and their once-in-a-lifetime love story is once again at risk of being shelved, unless they can find a way to end the book on their own terms. This sounds so good, and the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to get to this one. It just sounds so amazing. And then the last ebook, or e-arc, that I have comes out on February 18th, and that is Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. Yes, I was approved for this arc, and I could not be happier. This is the second book, and I think the final book in the duology that is Heartless Hunter, or in the UK, The Crimson Moth. I am so desperate to get to this. I need to read other arcs before I read this, but trust me whenever I say if I have any time in the next 30 days to slip this in, I'm going to. I need to know what happens. I need to know what happens to our girl, what happens to Gideon, what happens to everybody in this story. So whenever I got the email that I was approved for this, I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I got this. And I did. I do have 4 audio arcs that I'm going to talk about. One of them I am currently reading. I'm like 80% of the way through it as the time of this filming. I am doing a terrible job on talking on what it's about, so I'm going to read to you the synopsis, but it does come out September 5th, and that is A Touch of Shadows by Jessica Thorne. I don't know if the physical book is out already or if it's all coming out on September 5th, but the audiobook is being published on the 5th of September. Let's talk about what it's about, because it's good. It's just hard for me to articulate on what is happening because there was just so much thrown at you in this first book that you're just like, okay, what kind of story are we doing here? A lost queen's sacrifice, 2 kingdoms at war for centuries, and a spark of passion between hunter and hunted with the power to end everything. The shadow magic has always whispered to Ren, the same dark power that once ravaged her home kingdom of Astaroth. So she must keep her magic hidden, only using it to help people in need in the remote border village she calls home. Discovery of her gifts would mean death. Noble knight Finn has sworn to serve his new home Astaroth by hunting down those who use shadow magic. He has never forgiven his father, ruler of enemy kingdom Ilanthus, for his terrible cruelty. Spying for Astaroth in his own father's royal court is his revenge. And carrying a warning of raiding parties on the move, Finn is passing through Ren's small town. When terrible creatures in the nearby forest attack him, Ren risks exposing her magic and saving his life. But as they touch, burning desire takes over, and Ren's magic floods through them both. As the power fades, Ren and Finn's wariness of each other returns, even with a new bond between them. But there's no time to untangle their feelings from the seductive call of the magic, because with enemy soldiers crossing the border, dark days are coming to Astaroth. Their fates now entwined, can Ren and Finn learn to trust each other to save their kingdom, or will they be the key to its destruction? A Touch of Shadows is a totally gripping and enchanting fantasy romance packed full of delicious passion, stunning world building, and bewitching magic. The first book in an addictive new series is perfect for fans of Rebecca Yarros, Sarah J. Maas, and Jennifer L. Armentrout. I would agree with that to an extent. Because I'm not a big JLA fan. I just don't like her writing or her world building. Nothing wrong with her stories, but if it leaned a lot towards like her writing style or the way that she made a story, I probably wouldn't like this near as much, but it is good. So definitely make sure that you're around to check my August wrap up to get all of my thoughts on this, but I highly suggest picking it up. And then the next one is Immortal Dark by Tigest Germa. It comes out September 3rd, and I do have the audio e-arc for this. I don't know if that's whenever the audio comes out or if that's whenever the physical and the audio come out, but it is September 3rd, just a few weeks away. So it is definitely needing to be on the top of my priority list. It is the first book in the Immortal Dark trilogy. It is The Cruel Prince, Love meets Ninth House, which I've never read, in this dangerously romantic dark academia fantasy where a lost heiress must infiltrate an arcane society and live with the vampire she suspects killed her family and kidnapped her sister. It began long before my time, but something has always hunted our family. Orphaned heiress Kaiden Adane grew up far from the arcane society she was born into, where human bloodlines gain power through vampire companionship. When her sister, June, disappears, Kaiden is convinced a vampire stole her, the very vampire bound to their family, the cruel yet captivating Susanyo's Sagad. To find June, Kaiden must infiltrate the elite Uxley University, I'm probably butchering all of this, where students study to ensure peaceful coexistence between humans and vampires and inherit their family legacies. Kaiden must survive living with Susanos, even as he does everything he can to drive her away. It doesn't matter what Susanyos' wickedness speaks to Kaiden's own violent nature and tempts her to surrender to a life of darkness. She must find her sister and kill Susanyos at all costs. When a murder mirroring June's disappearances shakes Uxley, Kaiden sinks further into the ruthless underworld of vampires, risking her very soul. There she discovers a centuries-old threat, and June could be at the center of it. To save her sister, Kaiden must bring Uxley to its knees and either break free from the horrors of her own actions or embrace the dark entanglements of love and the blood it requires. Are vampires coming back? Like, are we going through another spell of just vampires being the it thing? Because I'm here for that. But I've noticed a lot of new books coming out have vampires, or at least, vampiric creatures. What is happening? And then coming out on November 12th, again, I don't know if the audio is coming out just that day or if the book and the audio, but it is The Courting of Bristol, Keats by Mary E. Pearson. This is the first book in a new series by them. And it says, after losing both their parents, Bristol Keats and her sisters struggle to stay afloat in their small, quiet town of Bowes Keep. When Bristol begins to receive letters from an aunt she's never heard of who promises she can help, she reluctantly agrees to meet and discovers that everything she thought she knew about her family is a lie. Even her father might still be alive, not killed but kidnapped by terrifying creatures to a whole other realm, the one he is from. Desperate to save her father and find the truth, Bristol journeys to a land of gods and fae and monsters. Pulled into a dangerous world of magic and intrigue, she makes a deadly bargain with the Fae King Tigin? I'm going to say that so wrong. But what she doesn't know is that he's the one who drove her parents to live a life on the run. And he is just as determined as she is to find her father dead or alive. From New York Times bestselling author Mary E. Pearson comes a thrilling romantic fantasy full of dangerous fae, dark secrets, and addictive romance. So it's like a portal fantasy. I love portal fantasies. I'm all here for it. And then the final audio arc that I have, and of course the final arc altogether that I currently have to get to, comes out on October 8th, and it is The Stars Are Dying by Chloe Penaranda. Now, I did not know this until I just looked it up on Goodreads, but this is book 5 in An Heir Comes to Rise, but book 1 in Nightfall. So I don't know if I need to read the other 4 books first. But we're going to talk about it, and hopefully it doesn't give spoilers away. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a warning. If you want to read An Heir Comes to Rise, that series, or don't want spoiled, please fast forward. The brightest star needs the darkest night. In a world abandoned by the celestial guardians and left to suffer a tyrant king's reign, all Estrella knows is safety and seclusion. With fragmented memories of only 5 years of her life, she's determined to discover more about her past, even if that means fleeing the cruel arms that hold her safe and the wicked vampires rumored to roam the land. But when Estrella stumbles upon the mysterious night, she soon realizes determination alone isn't enough to guard her heart. He lingers like the darkness that expands between the stars, and soon she discovers her captor's wicked means of control weren't based on a lie, to keep her under locks after all. In her desperation, Estrella accepts Night's help before she can decide if she must have sold her allegiance to one of the bloodthirsty beings the people of her world fear. Once their bargain is struck, Estrella's chance to escape comes the form of accompanying her best friend Cassia to the King's Central. There on royal territory, it's the centenary of the Libertatum, a succession of trials hosted by the king in which 5 human lands compete for a cycle of safety from the vampires seeking blood, claiming souls and savaging after dark. So when tragedy strikes, Estrella must decide if taking the place of a murdered participant for the safety of her kingdom is a ruse worth dying for, or if the protection and the answers to her past really are her strongest desires. That was really complicated to read. I don't think it made sense there in the middle, but nonetheless, I'm pretty excited to get to it, and I know that book 2 has already been announced as well. So let me know in the comments below, should I read An Heir Comes to Rise before I get to this? Because if so, I got a lot of reading to do before October 8th. Hopefully I don't have to, but those are all of the arcs that I currently have. Hopefully I can stay off of NetGalley and stop getting arcs and get to my physical TBR, because I have so many good books that I want to read. I need to stop reading arcs is what really needs to happen. But definitely let me know in the comments below, everybody, if any of these books you are looking forward to on them coming out. Are any of these your most anticipated releases? Let me know in the comments below. If not, you can just leave me a star emoji. Let me know you made it through the whole video, and I will see you all next time. Bye!